This week on ANN, the Adventist Church and the Adventist Development and Relief Agency make a big announcement.
A Seventh-day Adventist in the country of Suriname has been appointed as a cabinet official for the first time.
And world-renowned gospel singer and Adventist preacher Wintley Phipps performs during a special service.
These stories and more coming up.
Thank you so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, the reality of all children around the world having access to education is one step closer after the Adventist Church and its humanitarian arm, the Adventist Development and Relief Agency, or ADRA, surpassed 1 million online signatures for the Every Child, Everywhere in School campaign.
Ted N.C. Wilson, president of the Global Seventh-day Adventist Church, said of the achievement, "It's indeed a blessing to see our global church family and ADRA standing up together in support of millions of children who don't have access to education around the world. Our brothers and sisters have shown that we can be a powerful voice for change when we work together. Thank you to everyone who helped us reach 1 million signatures and for your strong commitment to making a meaningful difference in the lives of so many children worldwide. But our work doesn't end here. We must now become agents of change in our communities and use our voices to ensure that every child, everywhere, has access to education and can reach God's potential for their lives."
Grassroots efforts for the education campaign kicked off in October 2019 with the Adventist Church and ADRA urging support for the nearly 300 million children, adolescents, and youth globally, or 1 in every 5, who are out of school, according to a UNESCO report.
As the impact of the coronavirus grows, the importance of advocating for out-of-school children has significantly increased.
Today, more families are vulnerable due to joblessness, illness, and other issues. This affects their ability to pay for education, which leads to more children being out of school.
There are 75 million school-aged children living in 35 crisis-affected countries who cannot get an education due to the increased vulnerability, school closures, and other issues as a direct result of the COVID-19 pandemic, according to a 2020 UNESCO report.
Later in the program, we will talk to Hurley Meyer, campaign director for Every Child, Everywhere in School, about how ADRA plans to continue the campaign in the months and years to come.
But first, we have a special message from Elder Wilson, ADRA President Michael Kruger, and Vice President of Global Adventist Church, Ella Simmons.
A year ago, we challenged our Adventist family worldwide, each one of you, to help us collect 1 million signatures in a petition to support children's education.
It was a daunting challenge, but one that we needed to take on.
Today, we have some good news to share with you.
We did it! Right now, we have over 1.1 million signatures, and that number is growing.
That is more than 1 million people who believe that every child, everywhere, should have a chance to get an education. It is more than 1 million Adventists who have shown the world that with God, all things are possible.
On behalf of the nearly 300 million children who lack access to education, we say thank you.
You came out in great numbers to sign your name to the petition, to stand up for the rights of children everywhere, and to join the growing ranks of the many Adventists who want to see that every child has an opportunity to get an education.
To the dedicated in Africa, thank you.
To the persistent in North and South America, thank you.
To the faithful in Europe and Asia, thank you.
To the tireless Inter-America and South Pacific, thank you.
Together with our global humanitarian agency, the Adventist Development and Relief Agency, we will take your names and signatures and continue to advocate for the rights of out-of-school children at the highest levels of government.
Our work is just beginning. We are developing new global alliances with key organizations to amplify our voices. Because we need your ongoing support, we will provide you with resources so that you and your church, youth group, school, or small group can continue to speak up about this important issue. We will also share a global policy report so that we have a clear roadmap of what we need to advocate for.
By doing all this, we are telling the world that our global Adventist movement is committed to being at the forefront of this important issue so that we can make a meaningful difference in the lives of millions of children worldwide.
Please pray for God's guidance as we move forward. And join us in this important effort.
As the Bible says, if God is for us, who can be against us?
Thank you.
A Seventh-day Adventist has been appointed as a cabinet official in Suriname for the first time. Saskia Walden is the new Minister of Economic Affairs, Entrepreneurship, and Technological Innovation for Suriname President Chandrika Prasad Santokhi. Walden was sworn in during a special ceremony of the National Assembly on July 16. Walden, a native of Suriname and a member of the Central Adventist Church in Paramaribo, has served the church throughout the Caribbean Union and Europe for several years in various capacities. In a televised swearing-in ceremony, Pastor Edward Blackman, president of the Adventist Church in Suriname, prayed for Walden as well as other new cabinet members and government leaders. Walden is an accounting expert with over 15 years international work experience and has led her own consulting firm in Suriname for more than 15 years. Regarding her recent appointment, Walden said that she feels blessed and challenged by the task at hand. She says, "God has given me the opportunity to serve others because one of God's missions for us is that we have to look out for others. I trust that He has led me in the past and will be able to lead me through this." For more information, visit interamerica.org.
Seventh-day Adventist gospel singer and pastor Wintley Phipps delivered a moving performance at the funeral of United States Representative John Lewis, who passed away on July 17. Phipps sang familiar hymns Amazing Grace and It Is Well With My Soul. Lewis was an American politician and noted civil rights leader who served in the House of Representatives for the U.S. state of Georgia. Lewis led the Selma to Montgomery marches across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in 1965. He is the first Black lawmaker to lie in state in the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Phipps is a Grammy-nominated gospel singer who founded Dream Academy, a program that helps kids achieve their goals. In February, Phipps spoke to NBC's Today Show correspondent Carson Daly about the song Amazing Grace, how it has impacted him personally, and of the song's African melodies and connection to slavery. He said, "What it says to me is that I can be restored. The melody of that song, if it lifted them from dark experiences, if so many of my ancestors singing that song could make it, there's no excuse."
When the COVID-19 pandemic struck Romania, staff at the Adventist Development and Relief Agency in the country recognized that distributing masks and hand washing supplies was not the only way to protect their fellow citizens against the virus. Faced with a strict national lockdown, ADRA psychologists battled less obvious threats to people's well-being: isolation, anxiety, relationship conflicts, and depression. In light of the growing mental health crisis, counseling and emotional support formed crucial components of ADRA's COVID-19 response in Romania. ADRA psychologists have provided counseling via telephone for vulnerable clients. They also visited clients' homes, offering food and hygiene products to those who needed them. Since 2009, ADRA has operated Casa ADRA, an emergency shelter for domestic violence victims in Bucharest, Romania. Thanks to its experience helping women escape from abusive relationships, ADRA was well equipped to handle the surge in cases. During the pandemic, ADRA helped 24 women and children find shelter, specialized counseling, legal assistance, and the support they needed to begin a new life. This represents about twice as many families as they typically assist. As the global humanitarian arm of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, ADRA is working in more than 70 countries around the world to fill the physical, emotional, and spiritual needs of people affected by the coronavirus pandemic. To help with ADRA's ongoing response to the COVID-19 pandemic, visit adra.org.
A new book on creation by Leonard Brand, professor of biology and paleontology at the Department of Earth and Biological Sciences at Loma Linda University, explores two divergent approaches to the origins of life.
In Creation, Really, Brand constructs a hypothetical discussion between two scientists. The topics include miracles, macroevolution or microevolution, geology, religious and scientific bias, and more.
Brand looks at scientific evidence on both sides of the debate and demonstrates how both arguments can be affected by assumptions and traditions.
Creation Really is available as a free download at adventistlearningcommunity.org/creation-really.
What would happen if two scientists, one an evolutionist and one a creationist, went on a geological road trip? What might they discuss? And what if you could listen in?
Aren't you letting your religion interfere with science?
It could interfere if I were to let it. This is an important point, and I will try to clearly explain. One step in research is asking a question. The next step is trying to answer it. A question can come from many different places, like from what we read or see in the rocks. Or, and this is the part you may disagree with, the question could even come from my biblical beliefs.
Yes, you're losing me on that one. Like I said, religion is getting mixed up with science.
In a way it is, but whether that is a problem depends on what I do with the second step, answering the question.
Creator or chemistry, evolution or creation. In the end, each of us must make our own choice. We need to be informed enough to make an educated choice.
Coming up, we sit down with the campaign director for Every Child Everywhere in school and to talk about what's next.
We'll be right back after the break.
We may look, pray, read, think, worship, sing, and share differently, but we all look forward to the Sabbath, and we all look forward to the future when Jesus will come again. With this message in mind, we arrived at a core component for a new identity system, the creation grid. Regardless of what or where you are designing, you can always find information to help you communicate that we are all Seventh-day Adventists.
Welcome back. As we reported earlier in the broadcast, the Adventist Church and ADRA have reached their goal of collecting 1 million signatures for the Every Child Everywhere in School campaign.
But what does that mean? How are children's lives really going to be impacted by all these signatures? And what is next for the campaign?
We sat down with campaign director Hurley Meyer to find out more.
Hurley, thank you so much for joining us today on ANN. I first want to say congratulations. What a huge achievement on getting 1 million signatures. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, Jennifer and ANN, for inviting us over to the discussion. And we're really excited, actually, about this wonderful news. So thank you.
I guess my first question would be, how did you do it? What were some of the efforts and initiatives that you put into place to make sure that you did get these million signatures?
Yes, well, this is even more than a team effort. This is actually a global effort, and so, ADRA working very closely with the Adventist Church around the world was really able to pull this off. And, as you know, these campaigns are not simple. They don't take, a day or two. They take a lot of effort, a lot of commitment from, really thousands of people to make this happen. And so we've been very fortunate to work with the church around the world. And, we've seen a lot of people go out onto the streets, with their phones, with, paper petitions. We've seen actually young people also go to stadiums full of people to get their signatures. So there's been a lot of work over the last several months to really engage our Adventist brothers and sisters at the church level, other places. We've also been working through our digital platforms that are available, of course, to make sure that we're able to connect people where they're actually at, which is on their computers, their phones, their iPads. And so this has been a tremendous effort by so many people around the world.
That's amazing. And it's been it's been really inspiring to watch young people take responsibility for this campaign and to go out and get those signatures. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. And, I think, I have to give a shout out to our young people around the world because they've been really at the center of this campaign. They've been the ones going out, oftentimes spending days on end, just connecting with people, going out, to different churches, speaking about this. We have some wonderful local ambassadors that have been taking this very seriously. And so, it's exciting to see also children that, are advocating, to their families, to their parents, saying, hey, you have to sign the petition. We want more kids to be in school.
Yeah, more friends. Many people are going to ask what's next. So first, I guess, is the campaign over?
No, and the campaign is not over. I would say we're just getting started. The first phase of this campaign really was to establish our voice as a global Adventist movement. We want to be recognized for standing up for education for children, for all children, especially for those who are out of school at the moment. But the next step really is to localize this effort. And what this means is, we have to bring this campaign to those decision makers within those national governments. Those are the individuals that will make the decisions on budgets, on how they focus on education. So we have some clear goals that we're starting to now roll out. And so, mainly to focus or define some clear goals for those local governments. And so that includes three main things. One is advocating for increased allocation of funding for those governments. So putting more money towards education, also for wealthier countries to increase their foreign aid assistance for education. And that's very important as we're investing money, making sure that enough of it is going to those children, to those schools, so that we can increase education. And also making sure that we improve social inclusion, especially for marginalized children. We're talking about children who have disabilities, also oftentimes girls who are left out of school. And so making sure that education is for all, but we have also enough funding for that. And then the second main step is, after we define those clear goals, is also to communicate with those national leaders. And so that's going to be the main part where we need a lot of people, we need more voices to go out, knock on doors, talk to their national leaders, and say, look, this is important to us as Adventists, but it should also be important to you. This is how we as nations are going to develop through education.
So how can our members still get involved? If I was a young person who got a bunch of signatures and I wanted to still be involved, or if I'm just now hearing about the campaign and I want to be involved, how can I do that?
Yes, and that's what we're going to be rolling out very soon. In fact, we have already started to share some resources online. We have developed what we call the next step guide. So how do you go from supporting now to doing action? We're also going to be releasing our resource kit in October, so that if you're a church member, if you're part of a school, if you are part of a youth group or a small group with your church, you can take those resources and actually start to reach out. Another thing that we're actually working with is to develop a global policy report. And I know it sounds a little fancy, but what it is really a roadmap where we can say, these are the issues that we want to advocate for. These are the things that need to change. And so this is what we're going to be doing over the next months and years. And so, those resources, some of those are already online. If you go to adra.org/in-school/resources, you can start downloading right away the next step guide. And again, in October, we're going to be releasing the kit and this global report, so that people have, again, the tools to be able to go on and really advocate for education in their countries, in their own communities.
That's great. And Hurley, you sort of answered my last question, but let's say it again. Where can people go and find resources and information about Every Child Everywhere in School?
Yes, definitely. If you haven't visited already the campaign website, again, we encourage you to do that. Go to adra.org. That's adra.org/in-school/resources. And by the way, those resources are also available in Portuguese, in Spanish, and in French, and of course in English. And so we encourage you to take those resources. If they're not in your languages, find ways that you can get them translated. But we want to make sure that if you're passionate about this issue, that you have the right resources, and we encourage you connect with those leaders locally, making sure that your voice is heard for children and for education.
That's great. Thank you so much, Hurley, for being with us. And we want all of our members to still participate in this. And again, congratulations, 1 million signatures. What a great achievement.
Yes, it's time to celebrate and now move to the next phase. So thank you, Jenna.
You can read more about this campaign and how you can still be involved at adra.org/inschool.
Coming up, Michael Yonker is here for This Week in Adventist History.
But up next, Adventist Mission shares how a camp run by Christian Record Services for the Blind is bringing people together in Toronto.
Welcome back.
Nina and Kevin met at Camp Frida, an Adventist summer camp that opened its doors to the blind community in Toronto.
Together, along with Global Mission, they started the Hope Vision Fellowship, the first Adventist church for the visually impaired in North American division.
Adventist Mission has more.
Nina does what most dog owners do. She takes her dog out for a walk every day to enjoy the outside air. But things are a little different for Nina. She relies on Fargo to get her out the door and around the neighborhood safely. He's her guide dog, helping Nina navigate the streets. Nina and her husband, Kevin, are both blind, living in a Toronto high-rise apartment building. This Canadian couple lives in many ways just like anyone else would. They cook, clean, and do household tasks. Nina runs an online business, selling handmade knitted clothing, homemade soaps, and other accessories.
Each of these things are an artistic outlet for me. I do the store because I like to have fun with crafts.
Nina and Kevin met at Camp Frenda, an Adventist summer camp that opens its doors to the blind community for 1 week each year. It was sponsored by Christian Record Services at the time. Nina and Kevin's love for Jesus grew, and they both were baptized. During the same time, they fell in love and eventually got married. Despite becoming part of a church family, the reality of their daily challenges still exist.
I think a lot of people just don't know how to relate to us, and a lot of people are afraid to even talk to us, and so sometimes they just don't know how to approach us as people. And a lot of times we feel left out.
In 2007, they were part of the founding team to start a new Adventist congregation with the Ontario Conference. They rented a conference room in a local hotel in Scarborough, a suburb of Toronto, and began meeting once a month. This gathering came to be known as Hope Vision Fellowship and was designed to welcome the blind community. Momentum built over the years, and they formed a core group with new visitors coming through the doors regularly.
There are a lot of blind people that really need this hope, and they need this nice time away from their stuff that they deal with every day, and they need sort of a slight refuge. And that's my heart, where I want to make people, help them feel that way, like they matter.
Most of the people who attend are not Adventist, but come because they feel safe here. They come from different religions and socioeconomic backgrounds. This congregation is not just focused on meeting the spiritual needs of its community. They also are aware of the physical needs. Pat, one of the founding members, makes sure that people are well taken care of by creating food care packages for people to take home.
As most of them can't afford some of the basic necessities of life, let alone a little bit extra. And some of them have to rely on food banks anyway, so this is one of our reaches as well. I mean, this is sometimes the only way of getting their food. Knowing some of the stories of some of the ones going to actual food banks, They get pushed to the back. They can't see. They don't know what they are. And the one time I was helping a girl clean out her cupboard, and she had 25 cans of expired spaghetti sauce and no spaghetti. So this is just helping.
Thanks to your prayers and contribution to Global Mission, churches like this are planted in new areas and among unreached people groups.
I want to thank God from the bottom of my heart for the Adventist Church. It was through the Adventist Church that I found Jesus. It was through the Adventist Church that I experienced His love. And it's through the Adventist Church's help into the man that I am today.
Thank you for supporting Global Mission.
Watch this and other mission stories online by visiting AdventistMission.org, then click on videos at the top.
And finally, for today's episode, let's turn to Michael Yonker for a look at Adventist history.
This week, the Adventist Church in Uruguay and Paraguay is established.
This week in Adventist history, we look back at the establishment and expansion of the church in Uruguay and Paraguay, South America. On July 26, 1895, the first SDA Bible instructor, Lucy Post, arrived from the United States in Nueva Palmira, Uruguay. She hoped to study with those who had become interested in SDA teachings, and soon her wish was fulfilled. 3 weeks after her arrival, 2 members of her brother's family at Nueva Palmira began to keep the Sabbath. Only a few years prior, available accounts seem to indicate that the first SDA in Uruguay was Mrs. Juan Revoire, who came to that country in 1890 and who, 4 years before her arrival with her husband, had listened to sermons by Ellen White in Piedmont, Italy. The first SDA call porters to visit Uruguay were A.B. Stauffer, E.W. Snyder, and C.A. Nolan in December 1891. On the same day, July 26, but in 1959, Asuncion Adventist Sanitarium, or Sanitario Adventista de Asuncion, in English, Paraguay Adventist Sanitarium and Hospital, was founded. A general acute hospital owned and operated by the Austral Union Conference, situated in the capital city of Asuncion on the principal road leading to the interior. The brick building had 25 adult beds, 2 pediatric beds, 5 bassinets, and an isolate incubator, providing care for private as well as charity patients, and has facilities for surgical, obstetrical, medical, and pediatric cases. That's this week in Adventist history.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
We'd love to hear from you. Send us your feedback and tell us how your church is making a difference in its community.
Be sure to capture plenty of video footage and photos, then write up a summary of the event's important details, and feel free to send full video reports as well.
You can reach us by sending an email to annvideo11@gmail.com.
Before we say goodbye, here's some good news from the book of 3 John chapter 1, verses 5 and 6.
The passage says, "Dear friend, you are faithful in what you are doing for the brothers and sisters, even though they are strangers to you. They have told the church about your love. Please send them on their way in a manner that honors God."
That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.